I was reading a story by the author Trevor Moawad, who talks about a man who became a very successful entrepreneur, but in the 80s was struggling just to make it through high school. In and out of suspensions, lots of trouble, was on the verge of getting kicked out his junior year. And he promised his mom he would take the SAT test, but mostly he just made the promise to get her off his back. And he took the test. Didn't expect much to come from it. Took it in May, got the results in June, and Trevor's score was a 1480 out of 1600. That's really good. That's like an Ivy League SAT score. And his mom, like his own mom, accused him of cheating. She didn't believe it, and he couldn't believe it either. He said that he didn't even care enough to cheat, but he got a 1480. And suddenly some things began to change for him because his position was different. Now he's a 1480 person, and a 1480 person doesn't cut class. A 1480 person goes to class. A 1480 person doesn't just read the books. A 1480 person understands the books. A 1480 person starts hanging out with different students who did well on the SAT scores, and teachers found out about his 1480 score and started investing in him differently and encouraging him differently. He realized he was a 1480 person, and he became a 1480 person. And he got into a community college his first semester because his grades were so rough from the first 4 years or 3 years of high school. And then he transferred over to Wichita State, and he got over into an Ivy League school where he graduated from this Ivy League school, started his own company. He was doing extremely well when he got a letter in the mail 12 years later from Princeton, New Jersey. It was a notice from the SAT board informing him that he was one of 13 people who were sent the wrong SAT scores. His actual SAT score wasn't 1480, it was exactly half of that at 740. His life changed because his mindset changed. His identity changed. He started to understand himself to be a 1480 person. And when he thought of himself as a 1480 person, he did things that 1480 people do, and he became a 1480 person. He actually did graduate from an Ivy League school. He actually did start his own business. He was a 1480 person, but when he understood himself to be that, he knew that things had to change. And this is a little of what we're talking about in Romans when we speak of our position versus our condition in Christ. When he understood his 1480 position, it changed the condition of his life. Paul in Romans 1-7 spends a lot of time talking to us about our position, because when we understand our position, then our condition begins to change. Our position is who we are. Our condition is what we do. It's how we live. And how we live flows out of who we are. It's position, then it's condition. This is true throughout the New Testament. If you read through the letters, they often follow this flow. Let me tell you about who you are, and then I'll talk to you about how to live. What we have a tendency to do is put a lot of emphasis on condition. Hey, just tell me how to live. Give me some practical stuff. What about me as a husband and father, a wife, a mother? How do I do my job? How do I get along with people? What about my role when it comes to politics? Just tell me how to live. Tell me about the condition. But when we focus on condition and it's not flowing out of position, it doesn't work very well. It doesn't last very long. It ends up creating lots of pressure and guilt and shame. Who we are doesn't seem to change. But when we understand our position, then our condition flows out of it. And so Paul uses lots of language to talk about our position, but his favorite phrase to make clear our position is 2 words, in Christ. In Christ. He uses this phrase 164 times when he writes to believers in the New Testament. This is who you are. You are in Christ. That is your position. And if you have an in Christ mindset, it begins to change your condition. But if you try to live out your condition without this position, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna work very well. This is who you are. This is the truest thing about you. A lot of things might be true of you, but this is the truest thing about you. This is your position, and everything flows from that.